Let's bring in Lara Trump, Fox News contributor. Lara, what do you make of this? They're trying to have a they're trying to have a people purge with these advisory boards. Anybody appointed by your father-in-law's got to go.
Yeah, well, good morning, guys. And can I say happy birthday to my mom, Linda,
Absolutely.
watching from Wrightsville
Happy
Beach,
birthday,
North Carolina right now.
Happy birthday, Mom.
But really, thank you. This is not surprising. This is the Biden administration, and what you guys just said is so spot on. They want to find people that agree with what Joe Biden is doing to America, to what Joe Biden is doing in a larger scale around the world, and the way he represents America. You're going to be hard-pressed to find that. I guess they know that the Trump appointees are going to say, you're doing a terrible job. But gosh, I would think most people would agree with that. So not surprising, but it is sad to see. And this is one of the last spaces where we don't have politicization of anything. Can we keep it out of the military, and can we keep it out of a space like this? Sad to see, not surprising from the Biden administration.
Well, it is. Remember, he was supposed to bring everybody together. So not only is he not doing that by his actions and the reconciliation packages that he's about to jam down everyone's throats, but now he goes out of his way to allow this to be a story. Why would he go out of his way to go punch the other side? Like, what's going through his mind?
Well, I think what Kellyanne Conway said is spot on. This is a clear way to distract from the disasters that have ensued since Joe Biden took office. We still have an open southern border. We obviously had a horrific exit from Afghanistan, 13 American service members dead.
Yet.
Americans that are stuck over there still, that I guess we're just moving on. Joe Biden was on vacation over the weekend. He doesn't need to be worried about that. So clearly, they want to change the news cycle. Maybe this is an easy way, guys, to do that. But it is a shame to see. It shouldn't happen. But, you know, this is sadly the way that Trump people are treated. We're used to this kind of treatment, and not surprised to see it.
Let's shift now to Afghanistan, because Congressman Mark Green brought something to all of our attention. He's a Republican from Tennessee, and he says his sources are telling him that refugees are leaving Fort Pickett, which is in Blackstone, Virginia, in Ubers without permission from the authorities. And look, if we just all are a little concerned about the vetting process, because some are saying they're not being vetted, some say they are. But we don't want them to leave the base until we know that they are safe and they're not terrorists and they're not here to attack America. This is what Congressman Mark Green said.
DOD is getting its directions on how to handle these situations by the State Department. And the State Department is failing to give them adequate information. They're letting them leave. They can catch an Uber and actually leave the base. They don't know exactly how many are even there, so they can't account for someone if they don't return. And they're telling the people, oh, if you go and you don't come back, well, that will end your visa processing. But if they want free, they're gone. There's nobody keeping them from leaving. And then you get the shocking allegations of harassment and sexual assault, and it's horrific.
Laura, what's your reaction?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is insane that this is now happening on American soil. Remember, guys, who the people were that were vetting all the folks getting into the Kabul airport? It was the Taliban. Do we not think that perhaps the Taliban, a terrorist organization, maybe allowed a few terrorists to slip through the cracks? These people have not been vetted. I remember a press conference where one of our Fox News own asked, do we know if there are any terrorists who have been found among these Afghan refugees? And the answer was, we don't know. They don't know who all of these people are. And clearly, we wanted to help the people that needed the help. We wanted to get our allies out of there if we could. But at the expense of a possible terrorist now on American soil who could just walk off or, gosh, Uber off a military base in America, this is insane. It's not surprising, given that this is under the same administration that has a wide open southern border. People can just walk over that border too.
Nobody being
I guess
there.
We shouldn't be surprised to see this happen.
Yeah, you know, Laura, the whole thing, though, regarding the Taliban, who's been our partner in getting us out of there, is yesterday they said, okay, we're not going to let anybody else leave. And then now this morning, according to Reuters, they're going to let 200 out of the Kabul airport. But this is the problem. The Taliban keeps breaking their promise. But that's what happens when you get in bed with terrorists.
I mean, it should go without saying, Steve, it's insane that we have come to this point. And the fact that we have, yes, an unknown number of Afghan refugees who have made it to America, and yet our own people are still there, basically held hostage by the terrorists, the Taliban. Oh, well, we're so grateful you're letting some of our people go. It should have never gotten to this point. We should never have left before all of our people were out. But now we're in this bad situation. I hope that everybody that wants to get out can. We still don't know. They still don't know how many Americans are over there.
And we don't have anyone on the ground.
Yep. The former president spoke yesterday to Greg Gutfeld. And one of the things he was asked about, obviously he wanted to get out of Afghanistan. He wanted to end the so-called endless war. Would it have been different? Here's what he said.
When you think that they moved the military out first, think of this, because we had a great plan.
Backwards.
Even Biden, I think he made a mistake when they did it. They were all screaming at him. But when he said that since President Trump, or he calls it the past administration, signed the deal, not one soldier was shot at or killed. Think of that. You know why? Because they knew the consequences. And our conditions were tough. And then they came in and they just moved out. Who would move out the military first? The military goes last and safely. And sadly, those 13 great soldiers and 200 people, 200 people, more than 200 people were killed, and a lot of people are badly injured, really badly injured. It wouldn't have happened.
Laura?
It would not have happened. First of all, we would have never found ourselves in a debacle like this. We would have never been embarrassed on the world stage like we now have been, thanks to Joe Biden. And my father-in-law is right. When President Trump was in office, there was respect given to America because people knew if you messed with us, we would retaliate. Think about even North Korea with Kim Jong-un. I mean, we saw such progress being made under a president that exuded strength. Now, under Joe Biden, we look so weak. People are, obviously, you could just mess with America now and there is no retaliation. We are kowtowing to a terrorist organization over in Afghanistan. This is the problem when you have weak leadership. It was peace through strength with President Trump, and I guess it's just whatever anybody wants to do to America under Joe Biden.
Meanwhile, the Washington Post has a story today that President Trump is reaching out to some of the families who lost loved ones in that attack on his own when he saw about some of the events in Dover and how President Biden chose to talk about his family instead of those families and how that was not received well. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.